everyone. I am Aarti Utwani. I'm with the team Helium Foundation. Helium is the largest decentralized wireless network out there. Helium network is a peer-to-peer network of hotspots that are deployed worldwide and providing 5G and IoT connectivity to your sensors and to your mobile phones. I'm here to talk about DePIN. You cannot talk about DePIN without talking about Helium. Apparently, we didn't learn our lessons from NFTs, naming after horrible acronyms. But here we are, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. What does this really mean? In my opinion, I think this is really how you bootstrap a physical marketplace. There is a resource that is needed by consumers out there. In our case, it is wireless networks. So how do you create that initial supply very, very quickly and be able to provide it permissionlessly to any users out there? So helping to meet the demand that is there at the time. When Helium started as a for-profit company, Helium Systems Inc. Back in 2013, they were focused on building cold supply chain, temperature tracking, kind of like small data back from sensors to your devices. When you are trying to build a full set wireless network all the way from the sensors to the gateways to the backhaul, you run into an issue with what happens when your sensor leaves the campus. What happens when you can't connect your devices to internet anymore? You are obviously not going to go ask your neighbors or everybody in the town for their Wi-Fi passwords, right? So that is what really drove Helium. The founders wanted to quote the world in an internet coverage, and they started Helium Network. We launched in 2013, but in 2019, we launched our own L1 protocol. We were so early that there was not really any other option out there. An IoT token was launched, moved to Solana ecosystem back in April. Just a few months ago, Sammy at Misari came up with this acronym DePIN, and this is what they published. This is what DePIN networks can be like. Obviously, we are there, wireless networks, there are IoT networks, there is mobile, there's environmental networks. Filecoin is up right there in storage network as well. So WeatherXM, there are these all different kinds of networks, and you see them coming more. The ecosystem is constantly increasing. This was a chart published just a few days ago. And you can already see this is much busier. So DePIN definitely is picking up. There is a real-world utility of providing an access supply. It's really important to understand what is DePIN and what is not. In DePIN, you want a pool of miners that are creating this supply that can be used permissionlessly by any consumer out there. So it is a collaborative effort of a pool of miners coming together. Wi-Fi Dava is up here as well. Shubs is going to talk about it right after me. Moving on to talk more about the Helium network. So Helium network today is a network of networks. We started as an IoT network, and last year, mobile network was launched. Just a few months ago, our first carrier on the mobile network was launched, which is $5 in Miami. Everybody is talking about. On the mobile network, you earn mobile tokens. And on the IoT network, you earn IoT tokens. So what does this kind of incentivization really do? You are bootstrapping a physical marketplace. You are incentivizing people to build that supply. It creates, these are kind of all the wild installations that you can see of the Helium network, that guy right up there climbing on top of the roof, installing a physical infrastructure, being its own cell phone tower, and maybe providing internet to the whole wide region or towns and cities. These hotspots can provide internet to squares of kilometers. Helium's IoT network uses the LoRaWAN protocol. So what LoRaWAN protocol is, it is long-range, low-power protocol that is deployed in all of the IoT sensors. So some use cases out here, moving on. What does this network really do? How big is Helium network? As you can see, this is the map of our IoT network. Pretty dense in United States, parts, mostly a lot of Europe is covered, parts of South Asia. You can see it start building up in India. What does this coverage really do, right? It enables sensor applications. It enables more applications to come on chain, provide network, make real-world changes, saving millions of dollars, in some cases, infrastructure, cities. A lot of cities and municipalities all over the world are using Helium network. Why? Because they don't have to spend money, $50,000, $100,000 in building their own infrastructure. They are using infrastructure that is a peer-to-peer network of internet that is deployed by people like you and me. It's so easy to use the network that I have a hotspot plugged in my home. I don't even think about it, and on the side, it's giving me IoT tokens. So talking about some of the use cases on the Helium network, I mentioned a $5 plan was launched on the mobile network by Nova Labs. Nova Labs are the initial founders of the network. What's really cool about this $5 monthly plan is the users of the Helium mobile network are earning, if you turn on discovery mapping, you are providing data for the Helium network and you are covering range. You are kind of telling Helium mobile like, hey, I live here, but in this area, there is no Helium coverage. So you're providing that information, and it's turned on and off. If you have mapping enabled, you are earning some mobile tokens. You are using those tokens to pay for your mobile plans. So it's all a loop of how there is a utility from a decentralized physical infrastructure that's built out there. I think this is the future of telcos. Green Metrics AI, this is a use case. As you can see, there are flood detection sensors. GreenMetrics.ai is based out of Lisbon, Portugal, and they deployed these IoT sensors in different parts of in Lisbon. And there was a Twitter thread that was really interesting. I saw it. There were people in data centers. This is from a flood that happened recently. There are people in the data centers which are looking at these images on their screens in their offices and calling teams. They are like, go to this neighborhood, there is a flood, go and clear this out. So as you can see the timestamp, like that's 12:36, and in 1 hour they were able to clear the floods in those areas using the network, right? So the coverage is really enabling these kind of applications for smart cities, smart infrastructure, all using the blockchain technology. You know, there are so many use cases built on the IoT and network that I can keep going talking more about, but I do want to introduce Shubham, who is building DePIN in India, and yeah, very excited to hear more about Wi-Fi Dabba.
Hi guys, my name is Shubhendu. I'm from a company called Wi-Fi Dabba. We are building hardware, software for connecting Bharat. The problem is real over here that we are trying to solve using DePIN. We are solving for connecting Bharat, which essentially does not have the infrastructure that it can support our growing problems, the growing need of our connectivity problems. I want to dive right through some numbers. What you see on the screen are the numbers of broadband connection that China has. China has roughly 625 million broadband connections that are deployed for a population of 14.25 million. We have 120 for 330 million population in US. And when it comes to India, we have roughly 30 million of hotspots deployed for 1.42 billion of us. This is a huge problem that needs to be addressed. If you go by the studies of World Bank, they clearly say that a 10% increase in broadband penetration for any country increases their GDP by 1%. So there is a direct impact of having connectivity spread across homes and offices that helps in improving the GDP of the country. This needs to be solved, and DePIN is certainly one of the ways that is coming up, rising fast, that is going to help us solve this problem for. We need to take a look how the connectivity is delivered to your homes and offices today. There are roughly around 100 ISPs in India who demand a market share of roughly around 80%, delivering broadband connectivity to your homes and offices. They generally cater to the urban, semi-urban, middle class, upper middle class income groups. And on the other hand, we have 100,000 LCOs, the local cable operators, who are spread across the cities, across the country, and are not able to scale their businesses beyond a market share of 20%. We can leverage the DePIN platform, the DePIN protocol, to empower these LCOs, essentially to bring the connectivity, bridge the digital divide across the country, and bring those numbers closer, and in a way help adopt more digital tools. We need to understand why these LCOs are struggling. These guys, small guys, putting their own capital into their business, struggle to get access to technology which is advanced, hardware which can be scaled, the platform, the tools required, Swiggy-like platforms to scale their business. They don't have access to those. They do not have growth capital available with them, which essentially is the capital required to increase your business beyond few hundred subscribers that they manage today. Price war is something that they struggle to cope up with. All of a sudden, a new player in the market will come, Jio would enter their territory and underwrite their pricing, and they literally take away their market share from them. And of course, the consumer acceptance with them is low, essentially because of the poor post-service customer service experience and for not being able to service the customer well. Using a DePIN platform, a DePIN protocol, a DePIN architecture, we can solve for these problems and help this ecosystem grow. What we are looking over here are the stakeholders that are involved in delivering connectivity. We have a LCO, the local cable operator, the guy who is managing the operations at the last mile. We have the infrastructure owner. Anybody in the world can become an infrastructure owner on the platform. They are subsidizing the cost of the hardware, essentially the one who owns and gets rewarded in the specific tokens. We have location owner, the guy who essentially has the physical location, the physical electricity available, who lets out the location to deploy the hardware. We have the bandwidth owner over here, who is essentially bringing the backhaul to the whole platform. And of course, Dabba Inc., who is building the software, the hardware, the protocol, the stack, everything to help this ecosystem grow. Wrapped around the PM Wani framework, which is essentially the UPI of telecom in India, we are trying to organize, make them all work together in a tandem under a single protocol, Dabba network, which essentially is able to scale this platform much further ahead. This is possible because of the new word coined DePIN. Earlier it used to be called DY. Earlier it used to be, during when Helium started, was no such words were available. Over the period of time, the industry is coming together, and I think we have a very bright future as far as decentralized, the connectivity is concerned. What you see over here is one of our live clusters in Indranagar that we have deployed. You can literally go to dabba.com and essentially become any of the stakeholders. You could be a owner of the hardware, you could become a LCO, you could become the bandwidth provider, location owner. This is Dawn, say. So what we see over here is the live platform that is running in Bangalore as we speak today. And people across the continents, across North America, they come buy the hardware, they become, and we deploy and manage on their behalf. The most interesting part is this is not just an India problem. This is something that is world over. There are half the population not connected. And I think DePIN as a platform, as a protocol, is giving us an opportunity to build for the world. Essentially, bring the growth capital formation over here, build it together for the world. And what we have is something amazing when it comes to connectivity. We can build this together under a protocol called DePIN, and we can be all successful. Thank you.